Hi, I'm Dr. Padilla. I'm a professor of computer science and psychology, and I study how people reason with data visualizations. On this channel, we like to talk about all things data visualization related, and today I wanted to highlight some visualizations that have really been impactful for me, and I think you might enjoy as well. I thought it'd be fun to discuss some effective visualizations that I really like, because in part, many of my videos are about what not to do and mistakes that people make. So let's take a look at some visualizations that are really good and have really stuck with me for various reasons. The first visualization we have here is from the Upshot, and it is an animated visualization, which is part of what makes it so powerful. What's going on is we have this pipeline at the top, and we have these squares that are color-coded with either yellow or blue. Yellow is most white boys, so it's a white boy square, and the blue is for black boys, and both of these groups were raised rich. And what this animation is showing is over time you have these different groups of adults. So we have rich adults, upper middle, middle class, lower, and poor adults. And as the animation is unfolding, we start to see that the blue squares are dropping out of the pipeline, if you will. And part of what makes this so powerful for me as a visualization is that it's using a visual metaphor. It's using the metaphor of falling out of the pipeline. In some ways, it reflects a sense of gravity because the squares are being pulled down by gravity, and it kind of gives you a visceral feeling of what it's like to fall out of the track. So I think this is a really powerful illustration of a fairly simple data visualization. Really, we just have proportional data in these different slots here, and we have two categories to begin with. But the animation is showing the progression over time in a way that can really stick with you. I often talk about how you should be wary of animations, in part because they are so fantastic and attractive and exciting that people can overuse them. But if you use them explicitly to convey some additional information, as in this case, you're using a metaphor to convey some additional element, that is a really excellent reason to use animation in your visualizations. Some other things to think about for why this visualization is effective and the use of animation is effective is it's otherwise fairly sparse. There's not a lot going on, and the animation is doing a great deal of the work. Part of the reason why animation can be so effective is our visual system, which is our eye-brain connection, has evolved to find explicit differences in movement. So our eyes are immediately attracted to movement, and it's using that to pull our eye through the visualization. So it's both capitalizing on some of the neuroscience behind how our eye and brain functions to create a sensation that is adding additional information beyond just the raw information that's being portrayed here. I really love this visualization, and it's one that I think about a lot when I'm contemplating using physical metaphors. And part of the reason that physical metaphors are so powerful is that we all experience the world around us. And so there's things about our physical environment that everyone can relate to. Gravity is something that applies to everyone. There's other things that we've experienced through our time in the world that can be very powerful and relate to all different cultures. This type of visualization is utilizing those physical metaphors to convey abstract information, and that can be very useful, particularly for people that don't have extensive graphic literacy or understanding of complex graphs. Likewise, I wanted to show another visualization that I really like, that I think about all the time, and this one is from the Washington Post. What it is a simulation of how things like the COVID-19 coronavirus spreads. And it is very simple, but it is very powerful if you have not thought about it before. What's happening is with each new simulation, there is a single infected dot, and as it hits the other dots, it infects them as well. So you start to see how rapidly something like the coronavirus can spread, and over time, the dots become recovered, so you can see how the recovery happens as well. And this is a really cool example of how a simplistic visualization, we are just talking dots simulated in a space here, can really communicate something that can be very, very complicated to understand. And this, in fact, it has lots of complicated underlying statistics representing how the spread occurs. But when you have a physical metaphor like is being used here, it is completely intuitive for pretty much anyone to understand. I really like these types of visualizations because they represent something physical with a physical metaphor. They use animation to show the progress over time, and they also give you a summary visualization so you can see the progress that has unfolded. One of the threats with animation, which is what we find in empirical research, is that oftentimes you don't remember the entire sequence, you only remember the last few scenes. So something like this, having this supplemental visualization that shows you the progress over time, can be very useful for animation in particular. I hope you enjoyed these visualizations as much as I do. I think they're very interesting and fun. I think it's a very creative use of animation. I generally try to get people to avoid animation, but I think when it's done in this way, it can be very, very effective. In part, the reason that animation is so effective in these visualizations is that it is doing the main work of the visualization. There's not a lot else going on. It is a primary communication device that illustrates the point. I hope you liked these visualizations. Maybe you didn't like the visualizations. That is totally up to you. Feel free to comment down below either way. Also, if you want me to do more videos like this where I just highlight visualizations that I think work really well, please let me know. Thank you so much for watching this video and take care.